You're listening to Radio Primavera Sound, proudly presented by Cupra.
Hello and welcome to a one-off Line Noise. There's been a lot of episodes of Line Noise recently because we've been lucky enough to find a lot of brilliant people to interview. And this one came about thanks to Johann, my co-presenter on the weekly review, who announced to me one day he was going to be interviewing James Holden. And I said, could I please come along, because I absolutely love James Holden. And it turned into an absolutely brilliant interview. I said that not because we were doing it, just because James Holden was doing it, and he's a fascinating man, of about an hour, basically. And we could have gone on for so much longer. It was actually part of the Daily Review, which is our sort of daily culture and music programme. But I am repurposing it as a Line Noise, with permission of Johann, of course, just because I think you might like it, and kind of Line Noise reaches some different people. We talked about his new album, Imagine This is the High-Dimensional Space of All Possibilities. We talked about Max MSP, we talked about Countryside, we talked about Norfolk, we talked about trance music, we talked about recording in Marrakesh, we talked about really all kinds of things, and he is one of the nicest people you could ever imagine. So look, it's a one-off Line Noise. I really hope you enjoy it. This is James Holden.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our great honor here at the Weekly Review to receive an artist that both Ben and I are incredibly fond of as fans, as lovers of electronic music, as lovers of transcendental music. James Holden is here with us in the studio. Hi, James.
Hey.
And
I was going to applaud. Is that?
Yeah. Well, we should have the sort of the little applauses things and
like the canned laughter. You could have canned laughter.
Canned
too,
laughter.
If there's any jokes.
We need to work on that. We're trying to morph into television and stuff, but for now we're going to keep it radio. Let's get into this. I mean, Spanish tour. You're going to be playing Barcelona tonight, Madrid tomorrow, Santiago de Compostela, and Porto. Where were you playing last?
I was in Italy day before yesterday, Milan and Bologna, and then Switzerland before that, and Germany before that, and the Czech Republic in the middle of that.
Yeah.
It's been nice. I haven't been home for ages.
Are you doing it all by road?
Mostly by train, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Like, my carbon emissions for this tour have been the best of any tour. I'm so much gratitude for my agent and my partner for like lining all these things up so that I could just hop on a train, and it's good.
Can I ask two questions?
Yeah.
Firstly, which audiences are best, and secondly, which train services are best?
The trains are much easier to answer. Swiss trains are the best. They're just like my friend who lives in Zurich was like, yeah, if they're 1 minute late, people will already be complaining. And like in England, if they're 1 minute late, you're. I mean,
it's just what it is.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed about the bad reputation British Rail has.
That's because you've never lived in the UK.
I
British
know.
Rail is terrible.
But British punctualism. In Spain, we talk about British punctuality, and all of a sudden, it's like, but your like Britain's train timetables are not the best. In the
So
world.
these ideas about the British like some idea of the British character and positive attributes, are kind of a myth that's spread around to distract people from the main part of the British character, which is we like the taste of boot and we like the upper classes to just profit off us. And that's what's happened with British Rail. They sold it off, and someone's making loads of money out of not providing a service. That's all. It's nothing to. It's just corrupt capitalism. It's boring.
It always happens.
It's the modern British story: corrupt capitalism, and yeah.
But you have been to Japan and Japan Rail. Their punctuality is.
It's incredible. And when the little display there's like a sort of speedometer in the train car in the Shinkansen, and it's like, oh my goodness, we're going like faster than an aeroplane. And it just feels like you're riding on air as well. They're the best trains, definitely.
Because I remember reading that you went to that. There's a legendary synthesizer shop in Tokyo. Is that on this new album on Imagine?
Actually, yeah, like I don't actually own many synths. I've always just had an issue with spending money on myself. I've just been tight myself. So I went to this place in Tokyo called 5G, which is like legendary and super, everything's in amazing condition. But the one me and Luke Abbott were walking around trying things out, and I lighted on a Prophet 600. They had 3 Prophet 600s, and he was playing one, and I kind of reached up and played the next one. I was like, this one's better. Like, it's got something wonky about it. You play like a little run of notes, and one of them's a bit weird. And I was like, I want this one. And they were like, we haven't fixed that one yet. It's got something wrong with one of the voices. You can't buy it. I was like, no, I really want this one. And I was like, right, fine. They sent it to me. And I haven't fixed it. Like, I've kept it like that. And it was on The Inheritors. It's like the synth that did that song, Renata. It's like the main synth in that. And then, but also like the new album, like, yeah, it's the one which plays the best riffs on the new album, to be honest. It's a magic synth.
Is it your secret sauce?
Kind of is.
Wow.
Yeah, but maybe, well, I don't know. But maybe the computer is my real secret thing. Like, my own bits of code are the real, particularly this album, have done all the work.
Well, I was trying to explain to Johann earlier and not doing a very good job what exactly Max MSP is. Because I remember when I first saw it a few years ago, I was like, what the hell is this? And somebody explained it to me very, very slowly. And I was like, okay, I think I get it. But you could probably explain better.
Yeah, so programming is really tedious and boring, and Max MSP does all the really worst bits of it for you. So you can just think, I kind of sit down with ideas like, what if this arpeggio was like transposed by, as if it was a weighted ball on a spring attached to the slider that I'm moving, rather than directly attached. So it would kind of wobble around. And you can code that up in like half a morning, and then it's happening and kind of living in your music. And so my whole music is about building these like wacky little systems of like, what if, so Trust Your Feet on the album, the arpeggio is the transposed point of the pitch of the arpeggio is set as if they're like locusts that have an urge to fly away from each other, but they're also attached by a spring and they have some kind of bouncing as well. So it's this kind of mix of like weird, like physical virtual models of like weird behavior. And then when I play it, I'm interacting with that. So I'm like, oh, I want it to go higher, but then it kind of springs too high and I'm pulling it back and then it rebounds too low. And you hear all this kind of wobbling around. And that's why the music is this like continuously moving, trippy thing.
I love the idea that you don't have control. Or you kind of do, but like there's bits that are out of your control. It's not like
But that's just like real instruments. So I learned the violin when I was a kid. I was never any good at it. I kind of, until I discovered like Tony Conrad and John Cale and stuff like that, I just thought, why am I playing this? It's so cursed. And I never had any control of the bloody thing. It was always squeaking. But that's the best bit about it. When you hear like Tony Conrad's playing, he just makes an art out of not being classical with it and just scraping and squeaking and finding the life in the instrument. And that's where the magic is. Kind of same with computer.
I'm very interested in your transformation from being, a producer who worked with computers and stuff, and to becoming a full-fledged musician performer on stage. And I understand that your experience in Morocco in 2014 with, I'm going to get his name wrong, sorry.
Mahmoud Guinea.
That was a turning point because you kind of felt a little bit... you were watching these musicians improvise and creating this language and communicating with each other. And apparently you went to your hotel room and retweaked all your equipment so that you could perform it.
Yeah. So I arrived, I'd like prepared for a week before I got to Morocco, and I've been making my modular synth play these kind of Gnawa rhythms because they have a very particular swing and they kind of cross triplets and eighths in an interesting way. And I really focused on that. And had this like cool kind of drum machine kind of set up on my modular, played it to them, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool, we'll play along." But then immediately they're not going to follow my tempo because Gnawa music is about like this. The tempo changes through it. That's part of its power. That's why it puts people into a trance. It's like the most powerful trance music I've ever witnessed. And I just felt like I'm not a musician. I'm a guy with a box that isn't. It's not listening. I feel like I'm not able to listen. So yeah, I took it all to bits and made it into this synth that I could just perform on. And it was better than I thought it would be. I thought it would still be awkward and difficult, and maybe I'd have to edit everything when I got home. And just this moment where, oh no, I know the chords to this. I found it, and I could tell that he'd kind of, this is taking it off in a different direction to normal. but I'll work with that. And he Mahmoud Guinea was like 65 at that point, 66. And he kind of orchestrated a trance breakdown in the track Bania. You can get it on our Bandcamp or whatever. It's Bania, the best one we did. And like, he cuts, like his whole band, his family are playing the metal castanets. It's kind of really powerful percussion, yeah. And he got them to like cut down, and me and him were like building up this kind of sawtooth synth chords and him doing the bass, and then gives a nod to his son, and they come in with all this. It's like, wow. It was rushing. It was really exciting moment in my life.
And it's great because you've got it on record. It's out, the EP. What's an EP? The EP is called Mahaba.
Mahaba, yeah,
Mahaba,
which means welcome in Moroccan. Yeah.
And he died the next year. So I mean, so obviously, what a great honor to get to play with such an important musician, and how heartbreaking. But what was your emotions when you heard that?
I mean, I was so sad. I mean, there's a video of the Gnawa Festival in Essaouira the last year that he played it. So yeah, the year after I met him, and he hands his gimbri to his son Hussam at the end of and Hussam plays one. I was just watching it and just crying. It's like it's super sad. Everyone knows what's coming, and it's
Yeah, and you got to play with his son and record 3 live takes. So that was a great way of continuing.
Yeah, and I've been back to Morocco, and his son's come. We've done festivals we did a show in London, and then we did something in Holland. And they tried to come back to Europe, but because our government's changed, the English government wouldn't let them back in.
Oh, come on.
No, for real.
I hate it.
I'm so ashamed of that. And it's for a great, huge arts festival with loads of admin to make it happen. They travelled across Morocco to Fez, to the British embassy to like apply, and then just got told, no, we're not letting in.
I know. We've missed out on so much in these European countries because so much incredible. I've been to the Essaouira festival one year, and it just blew my mind. And it's like every band, like there was minimum 15 people on stage, and it was just like the most amazing music ever. And it's like, why don't we get to listen to? And it's like, oh, visas.
Yeah,
I find it interesting because when somebody goes to America, their visa basically has to be right. No American. Of the 350 Americans can do this, not a single one. I remember I had to write a letter in support of someone, and basically what I had to say was, no one, literally no one else in America can do this. You're like, I mean, that's a pretty high bar. You know what I mean? But in this case...
lie as well, because I got a visa for DJing, and everyone can do that. It's easy.
Again, that's the thing. Like in this case, probably no one else could do what he's doing. He's actually passed that bar, and it's like...
No, yeah.
Horrible. While you were making The Inheritors, you spoke of being influenced by walks through Scottish mountains and wanting to capture that vibe. Did specific physical spaces have any kind of influence on Imagine?
A bit, because there's like one track has a field recording. Just me and my partner Gemma. We were during lockdown when we had no money. We stayed at my parents' house. To get a holiday. They'd gone on holiday, and then we went to their house because we couldn't be in the same place as anyone. But it was weird times. I don't even remember the rules of that anymore. And yeah, we got drunk and went for a walk down by the canal in this little village that they live in the West Country, and so that's in it. But like almost like, but it's weird. It's actually in it. I played the chords before I put the field recording on it. But the song really is about that place. It's hard to explain.
Well, Ben was talking earlier about how Luke Abbott is from Norwich and talking about that beach.
Holcombe. This is the funny thing because I know you're not from Norfolk.
Yeah.
But
half the artists on Border Community.
Exactly.
It's weird.
As someone who, I mean, I don't live in Norfolk, I haven't lived there for many, many years, but as someone who's from there, I always sort of see Border Community as sort of like, a bit Norfolk. And that Holcombe Drones, have you been to Holcombe Beach at any point?
I haven't actually been. I've seen pictures of it.
Because it's perfect. It's literally, it's probably my favourite beach in the whole world. It's absolutely amazing. And when I first listened to that album, obviously I'd seen the name, but I was like, oh yeah, actually that makes sense.
It's definitely like what I'm into, and what a lot of people on the label are into is this kind of pastoral feeling in music of something it's really hard. I can't really articulate what it it's not a set of chords or sounds, is it? It's like just this feeling of being outdoor, of being sort of not urban, of being not rushing towards anything. Yeah.
Which is why I'm surprised that you still live in London, right?
Yeah.
Like you still make most of your life in London,
Yeah.
which is I wonder like why you haven't made the plan of like moving to the countryside and building a studio in the countryside like nearly every British musician does once they get the chance.
I am thinking about it, but there's something about London, like I can wake up and it's like a 2-minute walk to the Arab supermarket and I can get amazing vegetables and, go home and make myself a really good full for breakfast or something. And I'd miss that a lot. And my partner is allergic to more or less everything, so she's kind of dependent on having really good food supplies around. But also, London's changed a lot in the time I've lived there. And maybe it's not the dream that I thought I was moving to anymore. But there's something about being really close to all the culture and just seeing stuff happen. And I think I'd feel like I'd given up a bit or like decided to get old or something if I'd checked out of that like going to shows regularly is such a big part of. If I wasn't doing that, I don't know if I'd feel like a real musician. Like I wouldn't feel connected enough.
So what like going to shows? What about clubbing? Do you still, because you've talked about the importance of dancing and I've always seen you as a great priest of making other people dance. No,
The high priest.
A high priest of making people dance. But do you and your partner go out? Do you and Gemma? I know Gemma. Go out like certain club nights to go and check out a DJ set and stuff. Do you still do that?
It's when I quit DJing, which is 10 years ago now. I kind of felt like, for a while, I felt like I never wanted to hear another kick drum again. Like if Random Play played some dance music, I'd get up, find the remote, skip it, and then. Yeah, and I didn't want to go to. I didn't have any feeling like I wanted to go to clubs at all. It was so stark. And it was like, well, you obviously carried that on for too long. And then just gradually that's changed, and I've kind of like what I really love is getting in a trance, and dance music is really good for that. And what I started to hate was all the tropes and the cheese, just the basicness of it, and kind of, but also like the basicness comes from the sort of capital hierarchy in the culture that if you want to make loads of money, you've got to appeal widely, and just all these kind of effects. If you're doing that, you've got more money to spend on marketing yourself, and you can get ahead, and etc. And just like, I don't want to be having dinner with Sven Väth. It's no offense to them, but just like that's not what I wanted my life to be like, and so. Yeah, it all got mushed together in my mind as a set of negative correlations. And then eventually it just comes back and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I saw like Oceanic DJing and Lucas from Wigflex DJing, and they were just incredible. I was just properly tripped out by it. And just I kind of wanted to know what all the records were. And then I didn't ask a single one just to keep it a mystery.
But I wonder sometimes, do you have this problem in a way, because you've been making electronic music for such a long time? Is it quite hard sometimes for you to listen to something and not be like, that's a 303, that's a Juno, and they've definitely, that's an effect in Ableton or whatever that I recognise, to sort of get your mind away from it.
And the sort of like, when I first heard dance music, it was like everything was new. Like I went to a club and every song was ideas I'd never heard before, and everything was blowing my mind, and I thought the whole thing would be like that forever. That it was a continuous, I guess the time when I got into it in the 90s, lots of things were happening. Like drum and bass appeared out of nowhere. That'll probably be something amazing and new next year too. And then I've had to adapt how I understand it, and I started to understand it like it's folk music. And it's not so much that this is really a new record. It's just a new version of, it's the house tune with a Hoover bass line. You've done it a little bit differently, but it's the house tune with a Hoover bass line. And kind of just relaxing and being like, well, that's what it is. And the real value of it is the doing it, that someone's performing it, people are listening to it. That's more important than kind of this is a new intellectual property. Again, it's kind of a capitalist nonsense that it's about making money out of a thing, and that's obviously about to go out the window if AI is eating intellectual property for breakfast. Yeah. So Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm still working through it, I think.
It's because it always just struck me how, you sometimes you get billed in these festivals, which were like, big business techno festivals or whatever. And you'd always manage to just keep like it's your hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. It would be this sacred little spot between like sometimes you'd be sandwiched in between like kind of cheesy DJs. I don't want to disrespect any other DJs and stuff. I think I can enjoy a bit of business techno someday or whatever. But you'd be sandwiched in these, and I'd imagine you'd have to go to the dinner and go in the van with these, and it's like. How you could be in that profession for so long, it always struck me. Like you were very patient. You were very patient, no? And that's the way it is. It's like that's the circuit, and obviously you'd get very well paid for it because you had your prestige. In those moments of obviously not during the pandemic because no one could perform, but moments when it's an easy check for you. Like you could just tell your agent, look, I'm available for DJ bookings. You've never been sort of tempted, or even out of like, I wouldn't mind DJing again, out of just for fun, because it's easy for you, in a way.
It's not. That's the thing. To do it good, it's got to be your full time. I don't think I could do it. When I was doing it, it was basically taking all my time, and I wasn't really making very many records or doing that much else with my life. And like it's so much work to just be on top of the music, to understand how it all fitted together, and kind of. So I have actually done ambient sets since, but like super small things. Like I sort of thought about, maybe I could do like weird, eclectic DJing or something. And you're right, I did ask my agent, is it possible? And someone did offer something. And I just felt like, no, like I'd feel like a fraud, a sham, embarrassed. I couldn't go and stand on this huge stage and just be playing records unless that was, unless I was really focused on being really good at that. And yeah, I think to some extent, I was just a little bit bigger than I should have been. Maybe like playing, like it did work, but it was a fight. And yeah, if I was a bit smaller, there's less fighting involved in it. And less, maybe an easy life is nice.
No, because then you'd get to play that, that Italian festival. Is it Club to Club in Torino?
Yeah.
That's always got an incredible lineup and stuff. And, and there's plenty of those events happening all year round all over the world, enough to sort of...
Yeah. But at the end of my DJ career, I decided when I was touring, like I didn't have a live show to tour The Inheritors when it first came out. So I was like, what I'll do is I'll do all night sets and just play like the breadth of the influences of the record and try and like make this world into like an 8-hour thing. And I'll do it at my favorite clubs that I've ever played. And we started making a list. And then it was 8 clubs. Like, okay, well, that's quite a short list, isn't it? Like, that's it. So there's only certain places where you can really, you can sit at 100 BPM for 3 hours and people will go with that and not be like, come on, James, like, when are you
But John Talabot, he's doing it. He did it right at when pandemic was starting to be, the restrictions were starting to loosen out. He did a sunset set here at the Forum where we do the Primavera Sound Festival, and he did it for what was it, 6 hours?
Well, the whole night. I mean, I don't know. 6 hours
till 12 because the curfew was 12 midnight. So I think it started. No, it might start. No, it might have been 4 hours. I can't remember. Anyway, and he had a visual. He'd filmed the sunset, and he managed to sync it in time so that the sun would completely set by the time it was 12 o'clock. And he didn't go above 110. Like he started off at 100 or even 98. And obviously John Talabot, whenever he does anything, everyone goes, and plus nothing had been happening all summer.
Yeah.
So he pulls it off. He manages to pull it off sometimes. He won't do it at Deckmantel, but may rest in peace, Andy. No, not Andy. Weatherall.
He was doing this like
a
super
life
slow.
from outer space.
Yeah.
And it was starting to gain momentum. Like people were actually going to clubs expecting, the maximum is going to get is 110.
Yeah, but I wonder if it's kind of gone back after sort of COVID, because it seems to me like we're like people are like, oh, Clubberland's going to change after COVID, and I don't go to many clubs, but I don't get the impression everything's changed and it's all like a lot more respectful. I get the impression that like it's very much all the hits now, all the DJs. And that's fine, I guess, but...
Yeah.
It's gone through it. It's been fun because now I don't really feel like I'm in the club world. I'm just kind of existing, floating free or something. I keep meeting people from my past over this tour, like promoters who brought me in the past. And there's just an acts from that scene. I've kind of met up with a few people I knew. There's been this universal complaint of like, oh, the kids are like a mix of things, like everything's too fast. Everything's like got a cappella, like people complaining about it being very poppy and very... And one guy said, the kids don't even take proper drugs like weed and acid. They're taking letters and numbers they buy off the dark web. Like, okay, Grandad. It's all fine. Like I saw Heartstring and I saw... and that was pretty good, actually. It was like a lot of fun. I don't really dance very quickly or very much, to be honest. I'm more of a sort of stoned swayer than anything else. Yeah. And it was faster than I can handle, but it made sense. I mean, it was quite cool, the music they were playing. It kind of reminded me of mid-2000s stuff, but just 10 BPM faster or something. But it is really interesting seeing how different moments of time get mashed together in ways that, to me, that's wrong. You've put like two completely contradictory scenes together within two records. But that, you got away with it. It worked. It's okay. And that's where something new is going to come out of. People who don't fully have this like weight of history holding them back. And it's not my place to tell them they're wrong. I think that's what I think about it. I'm still processing.
I wanted to ask a bit about, if I may, your relationship with trance music, because we kind of like touched on it earlier, and you talked about, you know, music that could genuinely put you into a trance. And I mean, you started off making music that was, and I'm sorry to make sort of quote marks, but kind of trance music in a way, you know, like what people know by trance ish. I mean, like, and how do you see that music? Do you still like enjoy your early productions? Do you sort of ever play them? Do you?
I don't actually put them on, but if they come on, I feel quite warm about them, definitely. And I mean, more so the music of that era that I was influenced by. I just feel completely like no negative feelings at all about that stuff. Up till like trance music, up until the sort of Ferry Corsten moment where all the Hoovers came out and it became a bit formulaic. Up until then, it's beautiful and pure. And there was a compilation my physics teacher taped for me called Trance Europe Express, Volume 1. It's got like a dolphin on the cover or something like that. And everything on it is gold, and it's deep as anything. It's got warp kind of music on it. Like I was into trance and warp, and to me, they were the same thing. Like it just all joined up in one continuum. I don't see any kind of disconnect between these things. And then suddenly, like now you say that, people look at you funny. Like they don't belong together. And that divergence that's kind of, it is the Ferry Corsten. That's the problem.
I think I had Trance Europe Express Volume 2. It was like, it came with like a booklet.
Yeah.
I had Volume 2
a full education about, and in them days, you couldn't go on the internet and read about stuff. So I had this booklet and was like reading about Throbbing Gristle, and I had Transatlantic as well. And that had like all about like a lot of the Detroit guys and a lot about Richie Hawtin, because he was good at talking about stuff. And kind of, that was all I knew about that music. That was the sum total of my knowledge for a while. And then, then you learn a bit more.
But there is, I don't know, like a bit of a trance revival and like Goa trance and things like that. Are you surprised that it's kind of coming back?
No, I'm happy. It's good. I think it's really good music, and it had been abandoned because of like stupid snobberies and stuff. Like I remember trance blew up, and then progressive house came along for people who were too clever for trance. Yeah, right. Like it was boring. It was really, and I often felt, even up to recent times when Lorenzo Senni was doing his thing with like these, look, I'm editing this really bad taste music and now I'm in The Wire. There's some aspect of sneering at trance that it's working class music, it's popular music, and it's not those things. It's not, well, it's those things aren't something that you can legitimately sneer about, but also it's not, some of that trance stuff was just did belong next to the Warp Records in terms of like what it was doing musically and sonically.
I think I don't think Lorenzo Senni has said that.
No,
I think
but
he's quite...
It's the way other people talk
Right,
about
right.
him. Yeah, there's a little bit of him going, oh, it's kind of bad taste, isn't it? And I'm so ironic. Also, in his early interviews, maybe. But then, yeah, I've seen other people talking about it in this way that kind of betrays something that...
But you've been a bit like that about your own stuff. Like I remember pressing you about like, because my girlfriend and I, we were totally like so many thousands of people. We were obsessed with your remix of "The Sky Was Pink," and you said, "I'm not playing that ever again." You were really sort of. But is there a part of you as James Holden, the artist, who has all these fans and people who've been following you for your entire career, now that you're playing shows, obviously not "Sky Was Pink," I'm talking about earlier material, that you sort of feel that. You're not a pop artist, but that part of being an artist that is popular, where you have to sort of cater a little bit to the fans, do you ever concede? Do you ever sort of think, I'm going to play something from the past?
It doesn't feel like conceding, I think, because it's like I won't be playing "The Sky Was Pink" in my live sets because it's just a remix. It would feel like a fraud. But when I was DJing, I couldn't play that again and feel genuine because I'd worn it out for me. Like it didn't... When you're DJing, you play something and you want to be part of that enthusiasm. And if you're just feeling totally cold about it, then you're a lie. And I'd never wanted to be in that position. But I'm just grateful for the way people feel about things. And when you drop one of the old ones that people like and the first notes come in and you pull the filter up on something and people recognize it, like it's nice. Like I really like, oh great, you're happy to hear this. I'm really happy you're happy. It's a nice feeling. And like, I love that.
Because before we started recording, you were saying that, there's tracks of The Idiots Are Winning that you'd like to play in this new live setup that you have. But can you tell us about why it might be difficult? So,
for example, Lump off that album, that was based off a soft synth that ran in Buzz, which it's still around, but I couldn't get it to work on my new PC. So everything becomes obsolete. And all of that album was done in a version of Cubase that I've lost the dongle for, that doesn't install on new PCs anymore anyway, and all the plugins are out of date. And so to get back to these, I've got the file, but it doesn't open on anything. And there's one song off the album, Idiot, I really want to do. And I've just got to work out the notes from scratch. Like I've just got to sit there listening to it. When I was a kid, I used to play 4 bars of Metallica, run through to the room where the piano was, and then try and work out what the chords were, and then run back, try again, until my parents got sick of the first 4 bars and nothing else matters.
Can you play it now? Have you learnt it?
It's gone. My memory is like
Because on this last record, you're playing drums, how many instruments are you playing? When you were recording
I don't know, like a whole sort of Mike Oldfield sort of thing. I mean... Yeah, like drums, bass guitar, piano, violin, synth, recorder, hand percussion. But then I got some proper musicians in to do when it needed to be. There's 2 kinds of recording. There's one where I sit down at the drums and just have accidents. And then those accidents are quite funky sometimes. And I cut them all together and it sounds good. Or I get someone who's like Tom Page plays drums on one track and he just had to have one take and there was no editing. It was fine. And Camilo Tirado comes in to play tablas on something, and like having the proper musicians doing like really good jobs is a big part of it.
Yeah, No, and I imagine like you've got a long list of people who are available and glad to come in. But I understood that you laid down marathon live takes, and then, as you said, you scissored and stitched them together, and then re-recorded everything once more. Does that mean when you actually brought the musicians in, or why would you re-record?
It's not so much re-recording, like I was using the original takes. It's like recording. So the previous album, The Animal Spirits, I had this dogma that it was all going to be live, because there's something really magic when people are in a room, say the 3 of us were jamming, there's a feedback, like you're feeding back off what the other 2 people are doing, I'm feeding back off, and it generates, kind of in like maths, information theory terms, that kind of feedback setup generates lots of like rich, correlated, meaningful detail, chaos, good chaos. And if we did it as separate takes, then I'd play my thing, and I wouldn't have any influence from you two because you'd be putting it on afterwards. So there wouldn't be this kind of complicated network of feedback and correlation between everything that happened in the music. And so the Animal Spirits was about catching that, but it's kind of frustrating to do that because you're stuck. Like, I've blown my entire recording budget. Everyone's gone home. I wish I'd done one more take of that track. And I said I wouldn't do any edits, so I'm really stuck with it. And I read this interview with Mark Hollis and him talking about how there's two opposites, that improvised music like that and studio production on the other end of the scale, where you're like piecing everything together. And it's very conscious and and I wanted to find something that's like in between. So every take is a live take. Whenever there's a musician on it, I tried to do something where I played with them and like, where possible. But then I didn't have this rule that there's no edits. And if you take these live takes and crash them into each other, just like slip them across, and like that happened, and then 10 minutes later that happened, but what if they happened at the same time? Oh my God, that's amazing. And it's then the coincidences of crashing stuff together and kind of overlaying things and building. That's where I can find more, making the weird surprises, and the atmosphere and the kind of place feeling of the record comes from that kind of process.
Sorry if this is a stupid question, but you said that you'd said no edits.
Yeah.
Given that it was your record, couldn't you just be like, well, I'm gonna edit it? I mean,
yeah, but I'd written this whole manifesto, so I didn't want to be a hypocrite. Like, not that I told anyone apart from my friends, but it did. If I'd have let myself do loads, it would have completely changed the record, and it would have been a different thing. And then, yeah.
I want to ask about maths as well, maths and music, because you studied maths at Oxford.
Yeah.
My dad, who was a maths teacher, always said mathematicians are very good at music.
Yeah.
Is that something you've seen in your life? I mean, and where's the sort of overlap?
I mean, they're both abstract structures that I know some people who are amazing at music and they're terrible at maths and mathsy thinking, and they're just amazing at music. So it's not a one-to-one correlation. There are maybe multiple ways of being good at music. You read The Glass Bead Game, the Herman Hesse book?
No.
I feel like that's a book about, it's worth reading. It's a book about DJing. Just bear that in mind and then go and read it. I mean, obviously it's not about DJing, but it's this kind of...
Good old Herman Hesse closing Berghain.
Exactly.
Way before Sven was at the door.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not dropping pop acapellas, I say.
But there definitely is, but also music is related to language, and I'm quite bad at language, I think. Like I struggle to write things that are very good or whatever. And so I think there's different overlaps in your brain with musical ability, definitely.
Because funnily enough, he's also terrible at music, but he always had this thing, because we'd always laugh at him for like being good at maths, but his music was genuinely terrible. But I've been fascinated with it ever since. I've been like looking into various musicians, and there is quite a lot. I'm trying to think. I think Fortet studied maths as well.
Yeah, I think he dropped out of university because he was doing so well, whereas I wasn't doing... I mean, I was doing terribly at university, so I was really wasting my time to stay there. But yeah. Yeah, there is also... Because shark attacks at the beach are correlated with ice cream sales in Australia, but they're not linked. It's the weather if it's sunny, then people are in the water and they're buying ice cream. So there's, so that's the link. And I think maybe with maths and music, the mystical third thing might be autism.
Right.
I have felt that a lot of musicians I've worked with have had a lot of autistic traits, and that often points in that direction. I mean, I'm not an expert, and I don't want to overgeneralize.
So tonight you're playing at Razzmatazz. It's a Monday night. Do you sort of change what you do for the night? I mean, would it be very different on a Friday night or a Saturday as opposed to a Monday? Or
it depends. It's more that I would change what I do depending on what the room feels like. And it's nice playing live because you can kind of, particularly with this, my set is quite free, the control I have over it. And for example, a couple of days ago, it was a really reverby hall. I felt like, so the first song, I just kind of avoided using the sounds which would sound bad in that space and kind of made the most of the sounds which would sound nice in that space, and then kind of twisted it around and got to the point of the song as well. But it's really fun to be able to twist it around like that and change it. And so it kind of depends. If people feel really ravey, then it gets more heads downy. But yeah, I'm happy with this music. I'm lucky, really, that it doesn't need to be mega thumping to deliver its energy. And it kind of, you don't need to have, done a Friday night blowout to get the most out of it, I guess.
Well, Border Community turns 20 this year.
Yeah.
Is it still full? Have you accomplished the dreams that you had when you started the label 20 years ago?
I guess I learned that those dreams were more complicated than I thought they were. Like, when we started the label, I'd just come out of being ripped off by the worst, scummiest, like, used car salesman kind of independent label nightmare story. And so the big goal of the label was to be free, to be like, not to have an A&R idiot going, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that. And not to have someone stealing all the money and running off with it. And to kind of provide that for my friends. And so in that sense, yeah, it worked. Like, everyone that was around in that moment, I managed to provide them with like a little platform, and some of them took it and ran with it. Some of them took it and ran with it for a bit and then stopped, and some of them, it didn't quite work out. But we did what we hoped to do. But then everything changes as time goes on. And when it became a big, hypey label, then the kind of people that were approaching us were different to the kind of people we started out with. And the label they wanted it to be was a different thing to what we thought it was going to be. And then you're managing those expectations and kind of just, like, it had to... We were naive, to be honest, to think it could carry on exactly the same and keep that purity. And in the end, when I stopped DJing, I realized, like, then it just has to change. Like, it can't be the same label, because if I'm not a DJ, I can't test, I can't launch this stuff. I was so grateful for this kind of audience of people who were really paying attention. And I'd play a new track and people would be like, what's that? That's new, what's that? And that's great, but also kind of a pressure on things as well. But when I stopped DJing, I no longer had this kind of attentive audience that I could promo things to, kind of seed ideas and push things. So it had to become this different thing, like an album's label, an idea, that kind of thing. And I don't know where it's going, honestly. Like, the music industry is in a weird place. And coming back to do this album, I've loved certain bits of it, playing the shows, meeting people, talking to people about music, making the music, hanging with the other musicians, just people's reactions to it, that feeling of connecting to people. It's all amazing. But every little bit of dealing with the music industry, Gemma and I have just been like head in hand, like, do we have to a sponsored Instagram post? Really? Like, that's what I got into.
But would you be good at having a team of delegates running it? Some people who...
No, because it would change it, because then the whole machine needs to support the whole machine, and then that would change the music. And I'm so lucky to have reached this point where I can just be quite pure about, this is what I believe in, this is what I'm excited in. And that just defines everything. So it has to exist on this quite shoestring budget, low level. But that's good. That is more comfortable, definitely.
Do you still get like loads of demos trying to sound like how you sounded, 15 years ago?
It has dropped off, actually. Like, it took a really long time to drop off. And Gemma was keeping a book for a while, just full of but other labels would sign these people. Occasionally she'd look something up and go, oh, Compact have signed derivative Sky Was Pink knockoffs.
Oh, you've got to publish this book.
What is it? That Domino track from Oxia, isn't it? That is just a blatant... I like it, there's like, oh yeah, this is very Sky Was Pinky.
Yeah,
it's like, that is the most obvious.
There are a few people who I got really angry at. And again, that's a waste of my energy. I shouldn't have bothered getting angry at, really. They were just trying to make it. And
And it's flattering, I guess.
It is flattering. And and it's really... There's that Ted Chiang article about artificial intelligence, and he says, you're not scared of artificial intelligence, you're scared of capitalism. And when people are making photocopies of stuff, kind of the problem isn't, they just wanted to do it. The fact that it's in my face and they're trying to sell it is the problem. And it's
Does that pretty much sum up how you feel about AI in general? Like,
yeah, I used to be really excited about technology and the new things I could do with it. And there's been a schism that I'm not. I'm just scared of it now. And I've played with some AI tools, and because I'm so into building these kind of algorithmic things where if you build an algorithmic thing, it's like an instrument. It's not a mystery black box. It's something you can learn to play. And even the coolest AI music things that I've played with have felt like a black box. And like I could play this for ages and I wouldn't be getting closer to really realizing my intentions from what I've done with it. So I haven't, although I'm really amazed that's really clever, I'm just terrified by what it's going to do. And yeah, we need a world without billionaires.
Did you, when you were playing around with AI, did you at any point ask it to make a track that sounded like you?
No, so I haven't tried any of these prompt-based ones because that just seems so anathema to the process of music making that it just wouldn't, it's nothing to do with it. It's just shopping or something. It's another kind of search something. Or, yeah.
Like you kind of hope that it's like, oh, if artificial intelligence can take all the data to find the cure for cancer because it studies cells and stuff, wouldn't that be great? But all it is just going to be like a shortcut for capitalist ventures to sell you shit, basically. And it's like when you see the other day someone was showing me as if Freddie Mercury would have sung "Heaven" by Bryan Adams, and it was very convincing. He's like, yeah, but it's fake.
That I quite like. Sorry, I've got to say that kind of thing of getting people to... what I don't like is if they kind of go and make derivative things, like make a song like the Beatles, but when it's actually like, make Freddie Mercury sing this song, I've got to say I quite like that.
I quite like the idea of, could I have the Smiths back catalogue, but with Morrissey completely removed? And then I can just enjoy Johnny Marr for a bit.
+1 on that, I'm definitely...
But... If I was Freddie Mercury and someone had reanimated my corpse to make it sing Bryan Adams, I'd be annoyed. I mean, he's turning in his grave,
sound good,
it?
like in his voice. Like it did. I have to admit, there's like, it doesn't sound bad, and it's. But it's like when you watch a hologram of Tupac and people that would be included in, like, you've paid Coachella. You've paid all this money to go to a fest. You don't have to watch it. It's not like, oh, you're getting, but. I don't know, it's just a debate, isn't it?
I think the moment when Kanye reanimated Kim's dad to say, hey, Kim, Kanye's a really good guy.
I brought your dad back.
Yeah, like, that. I mean, that told us, that's the whole, we don't need to really think about this subject anymore. That's the end point of it. So just this brutal, monstrous, narcissistic.
Yeah. That was the end of his. I guess that's when the marriage really sort of thought. What?
Oh, poor woman, yeah.
I mean, maybe it came from a nice place. You're trying to bring my father back. It's just terrible. It's just so wrong.
Grim, isn't it?
It was so cringy.
Talking of pop, we're fascinated, right? What it is like to remix someone like Britney Spears or Madonna.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
because I imagine there's a lot of bureaucracy and agents and all these. People like rubbing their fingers in between.
Yeah, I guess so that bit of my career was the brief window where I thought I should have a manager, and I got a manager for a little while, and then it became obvious that I wasn't so interested in those kind of things, and we parted ways amicably. But yeah, like the Britney thing, it's like the people who produced the Britney had the idea they could ask me, and it was like someone from dance music who'd done it, who I kind of knew. So that's why I considered it. And Madonna, what I heard was that her hairdresser had been playing her my stuff. And she asked, and I was like, I just can't see any connection with this song. And then she came back with the second single off the album. And then the third. And so the third one I could kind of say, well, there's something I could do here. And did it. And it is interesting to do. Those ones, like Britney and Madonna, were just super fun to do because they're really distinctive artists. Their voice, you could take half a syllable of Britney and it's still obviously Britney. Madonna has said so much in her career that her words carry some weight, and like stretching them around felt like, that's clever, that's funny. And they just accepted what I did. Like on the Madonna fan forums, I found a thread where a lot of people thought mine was the worst ever Madonna remix, just by a long shot. It's fine, I don't mind. Some people like it, and it's okay. Because I'd like pulled the legs off and like really stretched. What is Madonna? Like, what is this? And here's a really trippy song about that. But then remixing Depeche Mode, which you'd think would be, that's cool. That was awful.
Why?
Like an A&R from, like I did it. I thought this is great. I'm really, like their new material's not quite as good as their old material. It was a bit of a stretch to make sense of the song. But then I kind of got to something and I was like, this is cool. I'm really pleased with this. Sent it in. It's a bit weird. Could you do it? Could you bring the kick drum in earlier? Could you mix it a bit different? Could you change it around? And it's not, I don't think the band, I don't even know if the band had listened to it, but it's, you know, an A&R man at the big label.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about. He's a professional A&R man. He can tell me how to write a record.
But like
It's
nothing,
just really annoying.
That was so destroying.
Yeah.
but nothing from Madonna and Britney was like, yeah,
Yeah,
turn it
just
in a bit.
totally. I got a message back. Yeah, Madonna gets it. She sees what you've done. She likes it.
I think it's one of my favorite of your remixes. the
Thanks.
Madonna one. I
That's-
still
yeah,
play it
cool,
from time
cool.
to time. And that Mercury Rev one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was really fun to do. And that was the first thing I did properly using my modular and using Ableton and getting into this, like, oh, this can go a bit wild. Like, it was like really, it was a fun learning process. Probably I'd have done it different if I'd have done it again now or, you know, a year after or something. But yeah, they let me get away with this. And it was when I was in this whole sort of krautrock phase that's never ended.
Do you consider yourself a utopian?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, I guess like, if you're not aiming for some kind of, like, it's naive to think you'll ever get to a utopia. But if you're not aiming for it, what are you doing? Like, if you're not pushing for something better than this, and look around us, then what, you've given up, or you're complicit in it or something. So it seems like a sort of, it's your duty to do that in whatever. I mean, I have very limited power in the world. I'm just a guy who's like a little bit good at computers and slightly good at music and got a little bit of assets, and some people know my name. It's not much power to change anything, but I can do my best.
Well, you're doing a fine job because, you know, your music brings people together, and there's this, you know, this medicinal trance-like quality. Sorry for sounding cheesy, but it's
That is really true. That trance is medicine.
It
I
is.
mean, I was when I went back to play with Hussam Guinea in Morocco, after one of these shows we did, they were like, well, that was nice, James, thanks for doing the show. We're off to play a Leela now, which is like the Gnawa religious ceremony. Would you like to come?
Wow.
So me and Camillo went, and just, it was incredible seeing the power of this music in a social setting. Like, it's all generations, like young people, really old people, families all together, handing out food, kind of. And then in the middle of it, people just going into a full trance and like flailing, passing out, waking up, weeping, like just dealing with all their internal things, using this kind of socially coded ritual of the music and the trance to do it. And it's incredible. Like, just, I can't really put across how powerful it felt, this kind of. And I think actually, like, it sounds like a cliche, but it really isn't, to say that when people go to a club and take themselves through quite extreme mental states, it's the same process that they're going through. They're dealing with what's happened to them in life in a certain way.
That's why I'm always kind of waiting for, because clubs have become this sort of bottle service VIP area. You know, they've ruined Ibiza.
Well, some of them.
Yeah. Not Great Nizza, for instance. You know, it's a good club. You know, but still, sometimes the experience is you order your drink, and you're there looking at the DJ. You can dance and stuff, but I like it more when it's open air and you're in a field. I remember in Festival, it was inside the forest, and you know, you're in contact with nature, and you're seeing like technology and lighting up trees, and then, you know, it's beautiful and it's sensorial, and if you take your doses and stuff, you're in it. Have you ever thought of going a step further? For instance, you were into Popol Vuh and all the bands, you know, all the krautrock bands. A lot of them lived in communes, and they kind of tried to create their utopias not only just make music and get it out there, they were actually making a lifestyle out of it. And I'm going to quote you saying, am I a hippie now? No, what was it? What were you were sort of making fun of yourself, I think, in an interview.
It's just right at the top.
Oh, so you're a stoner hippie, are you?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but it is, especially during pandemic, so many people thought we're buggered if we're going to depend on like supermarket chains and stuff. What if like there's gasoline shortages, if the petrol tankers aren't arriving? And, we need to everyone started thinking about moving out to nature and growing their own food and stuff. Like, people in communes have been doing. Have you ever had that conversation with your partner?
We have thought about it. The lesson of border community, of how it changes, you can start a thing and then it changes under you. It's definitely filled me with some caution about setting up a commune, that would face the same problems. I've watched films about communes, and it's a complicated thing and requires a lot of social skills and emotional maturity. So maybe I'll grow up enough to be able to do it in the next 10 years. Maybe. We'll see. But it would be really nice to have, it would be nice to have, I'd like to, what the label did in like enabling people to have a platform to sort of start off. Yeah, you could do that with a sort of farmhouse studio or something. Maybe that's where I'm going. We'll see.
We're always dreaming about it, like, because we're surrounded by lovely little villages here in Catalonia with all, which are practically half abandoned, and they're not that expensive if you formed like a little cooperativa of friends who are like, look, let's get savings but you have to involve capitalism by offering like bed and breakfasts, or like or an art gallery space or something for people. Did you watch Wild Country?
I haven't seen that, no.
Oh boy,
they made millions. It's very recommended. Watch it. But that gave me a thought. It's like, okay, they went wrong in many ways. Machine guns.
Yeah, quite a lot of ways.
As soon as they brought machine guns into the equation and started like burning down buildings of like people who were trying to like take them down, they started a little war on American soil.
Wow.
Please don't recommend living like that.
Well, no, but the parts that they did right is like they celebrated an annual festival with people coming to meditate with Osho, and they weren't cheap, the tickets. But they weren't like impossible either. It wasn't just for the rich people to come to. It was affordable for people that, like, if same as people who come to Primavera Sound, spend whatever on a ticket. Well, people would go to this year festival, and they'd make a killing out of it, and they'd sell merchandise, all in the good cause, and it was to sustain the commune, and people were it kind of worked in that aspect. So you sort of pick bits and think it could be possible, but maybe if you become too big,
bit less guns, bit less some
out.
of their rituals.
Leave the guns out, and obviously you can't be closed off from the rest of the world. Like, you have to open your doors and like offer. I don't know.
Yeah,
it can be done.
It's really, My friend sent me a link about someone talking about building resilient organizations, and there's kind of the structures that you need to build for change and accountability and stuff, and it's complicated. You need to be grown up and serious and put the work into that. So, yeah, maybe one day.
Yeah,
I'm still growing up. Like, honestly, just am. I've still got a lot to learn about being a human.
Are you good at being a record label owner, in control of your career? And I heard a very sad story about Gemma and you taking care of your dog.
Yeah.
It was very sick during the pandemic, and I'm sorry about that, because I've lost pets, and it's the heartbreak is just immense. It's you can't really describe it. But you brought a new life into you've got a new.
We rescued another dog called Heidi. Yeah. She's excellent. She's really cool. And she's very happy. Yeah. She's like got confident now. She's moved in. It's great.
So making this album, was that a way of dealing with the sorrow from?
It really was. Like, actually, the demos were made in the time we were like looking at. He had bladder cancer, Buster, our last dog, and we were living in the studio because our house was falling down. So we had builders come in and they'd like demolished it, and then the pandemic started and we ran out of money. So Like, it wasn't the nicest time of our lives, but it was super intimate. We were just living in 2 rooms and kind of looking after the dog, getting up. You'd have to get up loads of times in the night to take him out to the loo and stuff like that. But then I was making demos. That was kind of all we were doing, like just kind of living, looking after the dog, making demos. And it just felt like we did feel really sort of like a close unit in that time. And then when he died, I didn't really feel like making music for months. It was really 6 months at least before I picked it up again. And then I was like, oh, it's all finished. I don't really need to do very much.
Which would be the track that was, sort of, I don't know, your love letter to Buster? Or
it's kind of like the whole thing is touched by him, but there's one particular track, In the End You'll Know, which has got these kind of ethereal organs at the start, and it's really connected to Buster because the original, I was using this recording technique that Luke Abbott had pioneered on his Translate album that he'd recorded earlier, a couple of years before in my studio, where you just put loads of speakers around. And I found some speakers by the bins in the industrial estate. I've got like some nice 70s tannoy speakers, a couple of PA speakers, my monitor speakers, some like cheap little rubbish little box speakers. You spread them all around the studio, different rooms, different corners of the room, whatever. And then one sound goes to each speaker. And so it's as if your drum machine is a person in that corner of the room, your bass line is a person in that corner of the room. Really helps you write the music because it's kind of having it spatialized like that, separates the parts out, and you get it sounding good in the room, which is a part of, you kind of mix it as you make it by just making the room feel good. And then you put a pair of stereo mics in the middle of the room and capture it. So I was doing that with this ethereal organ part, and I had mics out in the foyer of the studio, which is like a big kind of hall-y kind of reverb. And it was beautiful for a while, and then on the recording it's interrupted by Gemma going, "Oh, I just took you out." And then the door goes, and that's the end of it. So every time I'd listen to this, oh, this is so beautiful, I'm on the verge of hearing some chords under it that really set it off. And then it gets to, oh, poor Buster. I felt really sorry for him. And I'd kind of lose the feeling. And then after months and months of just trying and never really finding anything to go with it, before it got to that moment, I turned the Prophet on and gone, da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh yeah, here we go. And kind of, the whole song was kind of written before it had played through to the sort of 15th minute of that original stem.
Well, that's we've been here for an hour. Yeah, great. The longest we've done in a while.
Wow. Okay.
It's a total pleasure. Playing tonight.
Playing tonight. So get over to Razzmatazz 3, Madrid tomorrow in Sala Tango, Santiago de Compostela after that, Oporto. James Holden, such a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, and it's been nice talking to you.
Enjoy.